I have very little impulse control when it comes to plants. I've never really thought of myself as a plant collector, but I do have a habit of collecting plants, so I don't know. I pick them up because I'm curious, because I've never grown them, because something about them just, captures my attention, and I want to find out more. Sometimes I buy it because I don't know if I'm going to ever find it again. I've never seen it before, or at least I've never noticed it before, and I might not come across it for a long while. So containers are the enablers of my obsession. I can bring a plant home, grow it on in a container, think about it for as long as I want without committing it to a plant to a spot in the garden proper. And some of these are going to be planted out in the garden eventually. Some won't, but having them here gives me options, and I am all about options. Some of these I'm genuinely testing. This is Eucryphia moorei, and I'm familiar with the genus. I've grown other Eucryphias. We looked at Eucryphia Spring Glow in one of our last videos, and I've got Eucryphia glutinosa over here in the back garden, and it's definitely a favorite. But this one's new to me, and I want to grow it on for a while to see what it's like and figure out if I can find a place for it in the garden. Red buds can be tricky in the Pacific Northwest. They're not a sure bet by any means because they're prone to verticillin. But my goodness, look at that foliage. It's beautiful. So of course I've got to give it a shot. I'm growing this one on in a pretty large container, and my hope is that it can live there happily for quite a while. I have a history of verticillin in my garden, so growing it here helps me sidestep that issue. By the time this plant bulks up and I get attached to it, I'll probably be even more reluctant to plant it out in the ground. So container for now, and likely for the long haul. I've been on a fern binge. I collect ferns, and containers gives me a chance to grow them on and enjoy them until I find a way to incorporate them in the garden. I've found some of my best ones at Seabright, which is a wonderful nursery in the Willamette Valley and a fantastic source for ferns, hostas, and epimediums. Certainly worth a visit if you're anywhere nearby. Their display gardens alone are worth the trip. I had seen this bamboo fern in their display garden, and I had to have it. I loved my other Woodwardia so much, that's this one here, that when I saw this other one, I was instantly curious, and I snapped it up. It's a different species, and I want to see what it does here. It's a bit of a Charlie Brown right now. Not much evidence of new growth unless you look very closely at the base. It appears to be pushing some new fronds, so fingers crossed. This one isn't very impressive. I picked it up at Wyncliffe last year because I was curious. Didn't know much about it, but I knew it had a reputation for being drought tolerant and tough. So I bought it on a bit of a whim, and I let it sit around over the winter in its nursery pot and basically kind of tortured it for a bit. So it defoliated last winter, and I thought it was a goner, but it's leafing back out. In the meantime, I saw one at Seabright this spring, and that's when I clocked what this plant can be. So I'm hoping this one will pull through. I have a thing for Stewartia. I have 3 in my small garden. And when I spotted this one at Hortlandia, of course, I needed to bring it home. It's a new species to me, and it's described as being a more compact form. And the plant that I spotted at Seabright really seems to back that up. It's growing on in this pot while I figure out where it fits and what it's going to do. Same principle here. There are certain plants that I want as specimens. They might be slow growing or hard enough to source, that growing them on is really the only practical way to get them to size, get them large enough to have impact. So this one came home with me after a nursery trip up into the Seattle area with some garden friends. And now it's getting big enough to have some impact, and I love it. Scheffleras are a favorite. They add such an exotic flair. I already have one in the garden, and this one is a very similar plant, but I wanted to add it to the collection. So it's growing on here, and when the time comes, I'll have it in the wings, already at substantial size. And in the meantime, it's quite attractive where it is. This one is a known quantity. It's a pet plant, and I bought it because I wanted it. I just don't have a spot for it yet. It's doing well in the container in the meantime, and when the right moment comes along, it'll be ready. So it's not so much a auditioning, it's waiting, more like an understudy. Dwarf conifers deserve their own mention because the grow-on strategy fits them particularly well. These are slow-growing plants by nature, which is exactly why you can't just pop them in the garden as small plants and expect them to hold their own. The garden just swallows them. So the container solves that. You buy small, you enjoy the plant where it is, and by the time a spot opens up, you have something substantial enough to make a statement. This is Thuja Primo, and it's still waiting for its moment. When the right spot opens up, it'll be ready. Here's how that played out in my garden recently. I had a Chamaecyparis iceberg at the top of the entry stairs, and it was getting too big. It was losing its impact. I knew a conifer was still the right plant for the spot, and I'd been growing on springtime for a couple of years. So it was ready to make the transition. So it's still a bit small, so I'll need to watch the surrounding plants. Conifers don't like to be buried or engulfed by neighboring plants. I think that this will work out just fine if I keep my eye on it while it bulks up and play a little referee, cut away plants around it that are threatening to cover it up. This is an unusual dogwood. It's relatively rare, though a friend of mine is growing it, so I have some familiarity with it. And I've been growing this one on for a couple of years, and it's reached a size where it's ready to go in the garden at any time. It's big enough to make a statement, but it can stay in the container for quite a while, if that's what makes sense. It's not on a deadline, and neither am I. It'll be ready when I am, and that's the point. The hardest part about making a change in a small garden is the gap. Without the advanced planning that we've been talking about, you run the risk of taking something out and then staring at a hole. And that gap is what makes so many people hesitant. They'd rather keep a plant that isn't working than deal with the empty space. When the next plant is already waiting in the wings, that gap is no longer an issue. In essence, you're not removing something, you're making room, and the replacement isn't a decision necessarily for the future. You've already made it because it's right here. The expansion into the neighbor garden, their parking strip and around the corner, has given a lot of these container plants somewhere to go. More ground means more opportunities to actually use what I've been holding and waiting. This up here is a plant that I picked up at some point because I knew it was really cool. I had no idea at the time where it was going to go, so I just grew it on. And then the spot presented itself. In bloom, it's extraordinary. Its colors are unlike anything else at that time of year. I just love it. At this moment, it doesn't look like much, but trust me, it earns its place 3 times over when it's doing its thing. And that's really the whole story. It was a plant that I loved, a container that gave me the time, and a spot that eventually made itself known. This Abutilon was getting large in the driveway and asking for water constantly. It's going to be much happier here in the ground, where it has room to be as large as it wants. It'll be hardier in the ground than it ever was in the container. Many of the plants you're seeing here were waiting for exactly this opportunity. The opportunity to expand into the neighbor's garden gave them a home. And one thing that makes all of this work is that my containers are on an irrigation system. And that's what keeps them in reasonably good condition. So they're relatively happy. They're not struggling while they're waiting. But that's also a limiting factor. Once those spots are full, the spots that are on the irrigation system, I have to get a lot more selective about what comes home. Something has to give. Plants either go in the ground, get passed along, or I make decisions that I've been putting off. The system isn't unlimited, and that's probably a good thing. Changes come. That's just what gardens do. They're always in motion. And I've been through enough iterations of this garden that I don't wonder anymore whether something's going to change. I know it will. Having plants auditioning, growing on, plants waiting for the right moment, that's part of why it feels somewhat easy. The next move is already in progress. Not every container works this way though. Some of them aren't going anywhere, but that's a different story.